Welcome to the ThunderCast, your martial athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose.
Welcome back to another episode of the ThunderCast. As you will notice, I am here by myself, Russ Livingood. This week, KD Hudnall will not be able to join us. We don't have a pinch hitter for KD this week. So unfortunately, you're stuck with me. And I got to say, we have done these. I did a couple this week, one for women's basketball, one for men's basketball, to do a couple of previews. It's a little awkward. So without anybody to bounce anything off of, I'm kind of going to breeze through the 5 things when we get to those and the around the herd. But I am going to hit you with a ComAssistKY.com preview for the ULM game that's coming up on Saturday. Before we get to any of this, I've got to give a shout out to our sponsors at Leasure Oliver PLLC. So if you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com. All right. This is usually where KD asks me to give him 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week. And I'm going to give you 6. We'll have 5 plus a bonus. 6 things every herd fan knows this. 6 things every herd fan should know this week. As always, brought to you by Ignite Link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Number 1, Madeline Hart named Sunbelt Conference Swimmer of the Week. You can find out all about what she did over on herdzone.com, but just know that she competed in several different, 200 medley relay, 200 butterfly. She had several wins and finished in the 400 free relay as well. Excellent, amazing week for her. And number 2 goes along with this. Grace Kelsheimer named the Sunbelt Conference Diver of the Week. So swimming and diving swept the Sunbelt Conference Swim and Dive Awards this week. Madeline Hart, Grace Kelsheimer, great events this week. Read that article on herdzone.com and find out everything that they did. This is one of those programs that kind of goes under the radar. And if you have not been able to go over and watch an event at the Natatorium, you really need to go over. It's a fun atmosphere. KD got to go earlier this year for the first time, and he agreed with me, something that you want to go see. Coach Ian Walsh has these swimmers and divers doing very well early in the season, picking up a lot of awards so far, but props go out to Madeline Hart and Grace Kelsheimer. Number 3, we're going to keep it with that of the week theme, and Ryan Bilby was named the Sunbelt Conference Men's Golfer of the Week. He had a second place finish, and let's see here. That was at the Dayton Flyer Invitational, and he was one of only 4 participants in the field of more than 70 golfers who finished under par for the week. First round, 1 over 72, fired back with rounds under par of 69 and 70 at the par 71 course. Second place all by himself. You can read that article as well over on herdzone.com. Big time awards this week for the of the week. We had 3 different athletes get Sunbelt Conference awards. One that's missing from there, KD mentioned it on Twitter, but if you were watching our episode last week, as it was going on, we told you Alexis Wolgemuth had 9 saves. Several of them laying flat out parallel to the ground, diving, getting game-saving saves. And she lost. She did not get the award. went to another Sun Belt Conference athlete that had 2 shutouts during the week. Very impressive. But we came very close to having 4 different athletes getting Sun Belt Conference blank of the week this week. You love to see that. We highlight every program here. If you're only following football, if you're only following basketball, these awards, you can see how well these programs are doing, and they just seem to be getting better each year. Moving on to number 4, game times and themes have been set for men's and women's basketball. Again, you can find this on Herd Zone. You can find it on Twitter or Facebook, where they release the links to those on social media. But things that you want to consider, go through there and look. They have several different themes where, it's wearing a certain color. There is a whiteout that we're going to have. But we have a home men's basketball game on the 16th of November. And that is when we have a home football game, and it's the 75-week game. So we're having, of course, everyone wear black in football. It just makes sense to have a blackout during that game. Everyone wear black. The time for that game has not been released, and that's because the football game has not had its kickoff time released yet. When that happens, which will be on Monday, we'll find out what time that is. They will then coordinate to have the basketball game, inverse, either before or after the kick, depending on what time that kickoff is. Themes through there's several different ones. Military appreciation, there's Marshal Staff appreciation, but you'll want to go through and see when you need to wear pink, when you need to wear white, when you need to wear black. And, of course, if nothing's listed, it's always wear Kelly green, right? All right, so number 5, track and field coaching promotions. Tessa Roberts has been named associate head coach. She gets a promotion there. Overseeing what this article on Herd Zone said, the largest roster in recent history, and definitely in Sun Belt Conference history, for Marshall. Also, Andrea Deem adds recruiting coordinator as a title. She was already an assistant head coach, but now she is officially the recruiting coordinator. So track and field's another one of those. Like I said, we talk about it all the time, but you may not get to go watch these meets. It's kind of hard to watch cross country. You can go over to the Klein indoor practice facility and watch, the hurdles, the sprints, and some of those things. But when it comes to cross country, it's hard to see. But Coach Roberts and his wife, Coach Roberts, have been doing a great job with this team, overseeing it. Coach Roberts, Keith Roberts, is more like an executive director now, where he's over cross country and he's over the sprinting and he's over the field events and everything as kind of like the CEO, but he has these great coaches underneath him, and the program continues to rise. And finally, we're going to finish it up with number 6. Marshall remains in the top 10 of the United Coaches poll, ranked 6th. WVU is ranked 7th, and I bring that up because there is a possible top 10 matchup, depending on how these two teams do between now and then, that both could be in the top 10 for the regular season finale, and that will be Tuesday, November the 5th at 7:15 p.m. right here in Huntington. If you have not seen what I posted on social media, Tom Bragg and I are going to have a joint tailgate party for that game, and it's going to have a theme of its own, and it's pepperoni rolls and moonshine. It doesn't get any more Mountain State Derby than that. All right. That finishes us up with a kind of quick guide to 5 things every Herd fan needs to know this week. Threw in a bonus there, but as always, thank you to Ignite Link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. All right, let's go into this ComAssist KY.com preview and tell you what you need to know for this Saturday against ULM. The ComAssist, KY.com official preview, ComAssist, we coach, you grow. If you have anyone in your field that needs some coaching, whether that is an employee of yours, whether it is you yourself, you can call Larry Nitardi, huge herd fan. He works this tri-state area. He's based out of the greater Cincinnati area, northern Kentucky. So he's in that area. He's down here, but he can help you. And when you're going to ComAssistKY.com, getting that phone number, you're talking to one person, and that is herd fan Larry Nitardi. Give him a call. But he has made it to where we can do these previews this week or this year and has sponsored this segment. And we've kind of broken it out. And besides this one, we've done standalone episodes for these previews. This one is a little bit different. Like I said, KD could not be with us this week. So that's why we're kind of rolling this into our usual episode and doing it as a feature. So let's talk about Louisiana Monroe. They're 5-2 overall, 3-1 in the conference so far on the year. They have wins over Jackson State, UAB, Troy, James Madison, and Southern Miss. Their two losses, they lost early in the season to then number one Texas. And that wasn't just a loss. It's 51-3, and they barely had 100 yards of total offense. So they got killed, but kind of expect that against Texas. And then last week, they come in 5-1, undefeated in the conference. It's theirs to lose in the West, and they face South Alabama, and they got rolled. So they've had games where they've held opponents to lower scores, gotten some decisive wins, and then they've been blown out twice. The first loss was, of course, like I said, being decimated by Texas. Then last week, South Alabama ran all over them, 46-17. They put up 355 yards of rushing. It looked a lot like that South Alabama win earlier in the year where they beat App State and just was running with their quarterback, running with their running backs, and just destroying this team. So you kind of see a blueprint here of what you might be able to do against ULM. And the key question is, which team shows up in Huntington when they take on the herd? Is it the team that has an impressive win over James Madison, or is it the team that got destroyed by South Alabama? So let's see what the experts think. The line opened at Marshall -10, over under 47.5. Currently, not much movement, 10.5. Favorite still for Marshall. The over-under stays the same. So Vegas is seeing this one kind of like a 29-18 score in favor of the herd. ESPN Predictor agrees with that, and they have the herd as an 82.6% favorite to win this game. Some stats and rankings that matter. Hopefully when I'm going over this, you'll get a little bit of maybe how we game plan and sets up who we need to watch for based on their performance so far this year. ULM scores 22.0 points a game and gives up 23.7. Sounds kind of counterintuitive when you're thinking they're 5-2, but again, they've had two massive blowouts, giving up 51 and 46. Marshall so far on the year scoring 30 points a game, giving up 26.3. ULM is 130th out of 133 in passing offense. Now, Marshall is 122, so both of those sound bad. They're lower on the scale. But as low as Marshall's rating is in passing offense, the gap is huge between the two schools when comparing aerial stats. It is not close. I'm going to get into a little bit more of that when we start talking about the quarterback room for ULM. ULM and Marshall are nearly identical in rushing defense. They are ranked 107 and 108 respectively. 276 for ULM versus 279 in rushing attempts against. For Marshall, 1,264 versus 1,265. Like I said, nearly identical. And that's yards against, 4.58 yards per carry and 4.53 yards per carry for Marshall. ULM giving up an average of 180.6 on the ground, Marshall 180.7 on the ground. ULM has given up 15 TDs on the ground to Marshall's 13. So again, eerily identical. However, Marshall is ranked 15th in the country in rushing offense, racking up 1,505 yards, good for 215 a game on 5.72 yards per carry. ULM, on the other hand, middle of the pack, they're ranked 61st. They have 1,176 yards, 168 average, 4.51 yards per carry. So Marshall and ULM kind of similar in rushing defense, but Marshall has a decided advantage when you're talking about rushing against the other team. So rushing against a lower third defensive team, and then ULM again is middle of the pack rushing against a lower third defensive team. So it looks like Marshall has the advantage there. And as we said up there before, wait until you hear the stats for passing for ULM. The offense just does not move the ball that well, except for some very weird, unexpected things when you're talking about rankings this low, yardage this low. Wait until you hear one of the keys to victory, though. All right, winding this up, ULM is 29th in the country against the pass, giving up 1,307 yards, 186.7 per game, only 3 touchdowns through the air. Defense through the air, very good for ULM. That kind of points you in the direction that Braylon Braxton will likely get the start, will likely get the lion's share of the snaps, if not all of the snaps, and look for us to rush the ball against ULM instead of trying to pass. So this is right in Braxton's wheelhouse. We've been moving the ball well, as we've talked about the last couple of weeks on this show. Braxton is seemingly, when he's in, we have drives that are more sustainable, put points up on the board. He does not throw the ball downfield as much and does not seem to run the offense from a passing standpoint as good as Stone Earl. But this seems to show right here who we're matching up against, that Braxton's the guy to go against ULM. Marshall has not been rushing for a lot of TDs so far this year. They only have 9. So they are running the ball very well, but they're just not getting in the end zone. But we do have 16 passing touchdowns. So it's kind of an inverse. We're not throwing the ball near as well, ranked 122nd. We're ranked 15th in rushing, but we only have 9 TDs. Inverse relationship, just another one of those quirky stats that you come across when you see these things. And finally, ULM does a very good job of protecting its quarterback, giving up only 7 sacks in 7 games. And, of course, Marshall, one better than that so far through 7 games, only given up 6. So those are your key stats. We've talked about kind of what Louisiana Monroe has done on their schedule. We've talked about some of the stats and rankings. So now we are going to talk about players to watch, and we're going to start with the offense. Number 10, Aiden Armenta is quarterback, 6'2", 210-pound sophomore. He took over for General Booty early in the season. He ended up, I think, getting his first start in that James Madison game and kind of has not given the reins back over. They have another quarterback that has stepped in, and I'll talk about him in a second, but Armenta has had the majority of the snaps. Still, we talked earlier about 130th out of 133 in passing. Armenta is 48 out of 85, 56.5% passing, 630 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and also on the ground, 17 rushes for 92 yards, which is 5.4% or 5.4 yard average, with a long of 43 and 1 touchdown on the ground. So he stepped in for General Booty, who had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions early in the season, not moving the ball as well. They go to Armenta. He comes in. He's 56.5% completion rate, 630 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions in the handful of games that he's been in. He's just not really putting up very high numbers, but it was enough to not go back to Booty. They do have another quarterback, Hunter Herring, number 2. He's a 6'5", 220-pound junior, and he doesn't have a lot of passing stats, but when he is in the game at 6'5", 220, he has 13 rushes, 110 yards, 8.5 on the average every time that he rushes, and has a long of 44. Keep these longs in mind when I'm going over all this stuff. 2 touchdowns on the ground. So 13 rushes, 110 yards, a long of 44, and 2 touchdowns. Also on the ground, this is coming out of the running back room, number 22, Ahmad Hardy, 5'10", 205-pound freshman. Far and away leads this team in rushing, 119 rushes, 604 yards. That's good for 5.1 per carry. Has a long of 39, 6 touchdowns on the ground, 4 receptions out of the backfield for 54 yards. That's good for 13.5 a reception with a long of 53. Do you notice the pattern where I'm talking about these longs? We've got so far 43 on the ground, 39 on the ground, 53 is a reception. You're going to hear that more and more. 44 on the ground. So when they are running the ball, they have these huge chunk plays, and it continues when they're catching the ball. Let's talk about the wide receiver room. There's a trio here that we have to talk about that you're going to want to keep your eyes on. Number 9, Jake Godfrey, wide receiver, 5'7", 175-pound sophomore, 13 receptions on the year for 191 yards. That's 14.7 per catch, but has a long of 57 and 1 touchdown. Number 12, Javon Campbell, wide receiver, 6'3", 210-pound junior, has 8 receptions, 176 yards, 22 per catch, a long of 44, and adds another touchdown. And then Devon Wells, number 3, wide receiver, 5'10", 180-pound senior, 18 receptions, 168 yards, 9.3 average, a long of 51, and 2 touchdowns. Chunk play after chunk play after chunk play. We talk about a low offense, the rankings where they're at, they're not putting up a lot of yards. When they are getting the yards, it's half a daggone football field every time they catch it or run with it. So you'll see when we get to the keys to victory why I have one of these down here. Let's switch it over to defense. When I've been doing these, and this is our 3rd season where we've been looking at other teams, rarely does someone's stats leap out like this next player does on defense. And this is somebody you're going to want to keep your eyes on at all times. It's number 12, Wydett Williams Jr., defensive back, 6'2", 205, very big defensive back. He's a junior. Leads the team with 59 total tackles. Leads the team with 29 of those being solo. 3 interceptions, 3 passes defended, and 2 fumble recoveries. He just seems like someone that they're not throwing the ball towards a lot because he's got 3 interceptions on the year and only 3 pass deflections. It seems like he is just the guy that is coming up and getting nearly every tackle that's available. 29 solo out of his 59 tackles, but 59 as a defensive back leading the team. Number 35, Carl Glass Jr., linebacker, 5'11", 220, senior, has 55 tackles, 23 of those solo, half a sack, and a forced fumble. Number 8, Carl Fauntleroy, a defensive back, 6 foot even, 185, junior, 43 tackles, 19 solo, 1 interception, 2 pass deflections, and 1 forced fumble. And then finally, I'm listing another linebacker here, 0, Tristan Shorter, 6 foot 220, junior, and he has 3 sacks to lead the team and 1 forced fumble. So coming in with a lot of impact plays, even though he only has 10 tackles on the year. So on defense, you don't see anything coming from the defensive line. But the linebackers and 2 standout defensive backs, they've got a lot of impact plays as far as interceptions and forced fumbles. But again, the majority of the interceptions, I think they have 5 on the year, maybe 6, and 3 of them are coming from Wyatt Williams Jr. Seems to have a heck of a knack for finding the ball. Over on special teams, we're only going to be talking about the kicker and the punter. Their main, and I mean all but like 1 or 2 returns as far as punt returns and kick returns have come from wide receiver Wells, and nothing really stands out so far. He doesn't have any breakaways for long yards or anything from kickoffs or punt returns. So we're going to focus on number 99, Max Larson, 6 foot, 200-pound kicker. He's a junior. So far, 9 of 11 on his field goals, and the 2 that he missed were in the 40 to 49 range. 16 of 17 on extra points. So he is very good and dependable as a kicker. And if it comes down to kicks, you're going to have to watch him because he does have 3 out of 5 in the 40 range. Also, number 47, Mackenzie Ryan, 6'1", 190-pound punter. He's a freshman, 36 punts, 39.6 average, right below that 40 mark where you want to see him at. He has a long of 59. 3 of those punts are touchbacks, while 15 are inside the 20. So it looks like he does a pretty good job of getting the ball inside the 20. Just under half of his punts have been inside the 20. All right, so that's the players to watch. Let's move on over to our keys to victory. And this is usually where KD and I are going back and forth, and I'm giving mine, he's giving his, but you're stuck with me. Number 1, my number 1 key to victory is to put up points. ULM is scoring 18.4 points per game over its last 5 games. That includes putting up 38 against a 1-7 Southern Miss team that is giving up 34 points a game. So if we score 30 points, I like our chances. They have given up, let's see if I can pull that up real quick. I know in their 2 losses, they've given up 51 and 46. But so far, they have given up, let's see. That's the only time that they have given up more than 21 points. Feast or famine for their defense. They've given up 14 points, 6 points, 9 points, 19 points, 21 points, keeping that average low. And then 51-3 versus Texas, 46-17 versus South Alabama. So again, if we can put up 30 points and find a way around this defense, it looks like that should be able to help us pretty good because they struggle scoring. All right, my number 2 key to victory is to force them to pass by stopping the run. ULM averages, this is all 3 quarterbacks, 7 games, including an FCS opponent, they average 11 for 20 for 127 yards through the air. 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Very pedestrian passing offense. If we can stop their run and make them try to beat us with the pass, it just does not look like they can do it. Number 3, though, we have got to limit their chunk plays. You heard everything that I said earlier. I'm going to recap them. This doesn't even go over whatever someone's second and third longest runs or longest receptions might be, but listen to these again. They average 291.6 yards per game as an offense. That's it. 291.6 is what they average. But listen to these season-long yardage plays. For rushing, 44, 43, 39, 31, 24. And receiving, 57, 53, 51, 44, 40, 36, 30, 23, and 20. A whopping 26.2% of their total yards on the season have come from the personal best chunk plays for each player. That to me is absurd. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like this. If we can stop them from these long breakaways, these long passes, we should have what looks like a pretty pedestrian and sometimes anemic offense. It's just like with their defense going feast or famine. It's the same thing over on the offensive side of the ball. They either get a lot of chunk yardage or they're not moving the ball. Let's see. Don't give up the big plays. Their offense is much, much worse than 291.6 total. This might be a situation where we finally have our first half and second half defense that comes out and just puts together a 4-quarter performance. We've been looking for this most of the year, and this would be the game. If they can stop the run, if they can stop these chunk yards, you're looking at the defensive performance of the year. Very, very possible just based on the offensive struggles that ULM has had so far this year. I've got a 4th key to victory, and we have got to be able to run on this team. They put up some great defensive performances this season, but South Alabama, like I said, just ran for 355 yards with 2 100-yard rushers. Let A.J. Turner eat and then get Houston and Braxton involved, opening it up as well. The blueprint was right there last week. Run, 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 run. Again, they are 107th in the country out of 133. We're not doing very well either. We're right there with them, but they don't seem to be able to run like we can run. So we have got to be able to run on this team. So that is the way that I see it. I see us running the ball, us trying to stop their run and making them try to pass and try to turn this into simple football. Control it at the line of scrimmage on both sides. We should be able to come away with a good victory. My MVP guess, I'm going with A.J. Turner. Again, we are going up against this defense that if you can run on them, you have a lot of success. I look for Turner to get anywhere, 15 to 20 carries and put up some big numbers. And I think in the end, he'll be our MVP. And the score prediction that I'm going with, not too far off from what Vegas sees. I see 31-17 Herd. I think we do break that 30 mark. I think our defense does put up a very good performance in all 4 quarters. And I see us winning by 2 touchdowns, 31-17. If you have different thoughts on that, would love to hear them in the comments below. Hit us up on social media. But so far, that's what I'm looking at when I look at this ULM team and the matchup that we have. We're going to be tailgating over there. Kickoff is at 3:30. We're going to be over there probably around 11 o'clock. I don't have any tailgate food to tell you yet. I have a very hard schedule this week, but I also usually take my work truck over there and it's been getting repaired. So I don't know that I'm going to have my truck back for the game. I don't really know what we're going to have, if I'm going to order something or if we're going to cook it there. We've been kicking around a lot of different ideas. So right now, officially to be determined. But one thing that you will know, landscaping by Hillcrest, always make sure our tailgates are rocking. We'll have plenty of food, plenty of drink, whether I have to get it catered or if I bring it over there myself and cook it. We are going to have a big tailgate. Hope you can stop by, and we'll see you over there. Right now, I'm going to take us around the herd, and like I said, I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick as well without KD here to give his thoughts on anything, and then we'll get out of here. Volleyball swept by Georgia State 3-1 and 3-1 last weekend. They'll be at Old Dominion on Friday, and hopefully when you're watching this, this will be Friday, 6 p.m., and then Saturday at 2 p.m. Tennis is going to the College of Charleston tournament. And that's Friday through Sunday, right down the road. Cross country will be at the, down in Alabama, Sun Belt Conference Championship. And that is on Friday, November the 1st. Does that seem early to me? Yes. Is it always early? Yes. They have the indoor and the outdoor at different times, different semesters, but it just still seems like we've only had a handful of meets, and now we're doing the conference championship. Swim and dive, they are hosting Buffalo Friday and Saturday. I just told you guys if you have an opportunity to get over there. So if you're in town and you get here Friday for Saturday's game, you don't have anything to do, go over to the Nat. If you haven't been there before, you enter the same way that you would for basketball at the top of the ramp. And when you go in, it's about 2 or 3 doors on the right, but you'll see everybody going in. Go in there, get in the bleachers, and see how everybody is in the pool. Women's basketball, they won their fans' first game versus Pikeville 87-77. And the season kicks off at Toledo on Monday, November the 4th at 7 p.m. I don't know when you'll be able to watch this. I recorded an interview with Coach Jolie Fulks, but also did kind of a preview of the season. It's a standalone episode. And again, it was by myself. KD is unavailable all week. And we had a little technical difficulties with Coach Fulks. The internet had a major problem right when we were trying to do the interview over at Marshall. And there was some lag. There was some one time she couldn't hear the question. I had to go back over it. But still, very good episode. Very good to hear Coach Fulks and what she has to say about this team, how it's going to be similar to last year, how it's going to be different from last year. But I tell you what, going to the fans first event on Sunday, into the first quarter, they had 29 points. You do the math, that's almost 120 points. You're going to take that all day, every day. And they got to that by full court press, lots of pressure, turnovers turning into transitional points, and then they were hitting some threes. Does that sound like last year? Sure does. They put up 87 points. Coach Fulks said she wants to put up a lot of points, always. And at times they are going to be doing the full court press. At times they will have lots of threes, throwing them up. But you're going to want to watch that episode to hear how they're going to be different. They brought in a lot of height. We should be better on the boards. We should be better at interior defense. We should be able to handle those teams that had the taller guards, the taller forwards, and the centers a lot better than we were last year when, for a variety of reasons, we were undersized. All right. They kick off, if I didn't say that, Monday, 11-4 at 7 p.m. They will be on the road at Toledo to start the non-conference schedule. Men's basketball, they also won their fans' first game versus Pikeville on Sunday, 90-73. Their season kicks off at home versus Davis and Elkins on Monday, 11-4 at 7 p.m. So the same time that women will be playing on the road, the men will be here at the camp. Just like for the women, I had a standalone episode and hope you'll be able to get to that one soon. It is with Coach Cornelius Jackson. We had an interview with him at the end of the episode. And again, I broke down the roster, the schedule, and went over a lot about season tickets for women's basketball and men's basketball. So we'll have those episodes out to you as soon as KD can get them edited and uploaded, just like this one. Women's soccer, they ended up in a scoreless tie against ODU last Wednesday. That's the match that I referenced during the 5 things. Alexis Wolgemuth went off. 9 saves, and a lot of them just in electric fashion, put on a display. They are, they also put up a great showing against conference champ. They've already won the division, James Madison, on Sunday, but they ended up losing 3-2. They had a couple of different leads in that game, just could not hold on. They are hosting Louisiana as we speak, and I'm going to see where we're at. As of right now, we have hit refresh here to see where we're at. We're at 67 minutes, so we're into the second half. We had a 1-0 lead going into the half. Louisiana has tied it up, so it's 1-1 right now with little over 23 minutes to play. I'm sorry, a little over 22 minutes to play. So I'm not going to have that score by the end of this, but they had free admission with a Halloween costume tonight. I hope everyone, after they went trick-or-treating, especially those in the Highlawn area, were able to just walk right in, catch a little bit of this soccer match. Men's soccer, they ended up beating Georgia Southern 4-1 last Wednesday as we were recording. We went down 1-0, and then it was just goal, and then we added a couple more late. We ended up winning 4-1. However, we were up 3-1 against Georgia State on Sunday, and we gave up 2 late goals in the 85th minute and the 89th minute, I think. Very late goals. Ended up with a 3-3 tie. That really hurts in the conference rankings. We get 1 point for a tie. Looks like just giving up the 2 goals had us giving up 2 points. So not real sure where that's going to shake out now going up against WVU. Like I said, it depends on what we do, what they do. But we are traveling to Kentucky tomorrow, November the 1st. That is 7 p.m. If we win there, that will help quite a bit as we go into the Mountain State Derby versus West Virginia on Tuesday, November the 5th. 7:15 p.m. Don't forget what I said earlier. Tom Bragg and I are going to have a blowout tailgate, but the tailgate scene there is always great at men's soccer. So if you're in the area, stop by. But that was a very quick, lot of talking from me. I hate this kind of an episode, but what do they say in showbiz? The show must go on. Thank you to ComAssist for the preview of the ULM game. Our sponsors, as always, we have Landscaping by Hillcrest for the tailgate that we're going to have on Sunday for that game. And then where would we be without Leasure Oliver PLLC? Find them at 304carwreck.com. And Ignite Link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Guys, our sponsors are the best. They are herd fans. They help bring this content to you. Give back to them. If you or anyone you know can use any of their services, reach out to them and tell them the ThunderCast sent you. But for now, we're going to get out of here. So I'm going to say, whether you see us at the Jack, whether you see us at the Joan, or whether you see us tailgating our faces off at the Vet on Tuesday, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go herd. It's the ThunderCast, and we'll see you next week.